Dave.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, Dave. And
Good.
you know, being nearly neighbors in the east end of Ojai, we haven't talked since late last year, and I was a little concerned after the big floods and everything of January 2005, how Dave and family weathered the big downpour.
We were good. We didn't get touched, luckily, out there, so we were fine. Other than the problems of driving in and out of the valley.
Right.
But no, we were fine.
You were safe up there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I could have used you sandbagging, man. I was out there filling sandbags, and it was pretty awful. In fact, our new baby was supposed to be born that week,
Oh,
and
goodness.
and so we had to. My wife was in labor and had to wait like 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, well, let's talk about Dave Mason. Dave, first of all, sad to hear about the passing of your Traffic bandmate Jim Capaldi. I think it was late last year that Jim passed away.
Yeah, in January, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You guys hadn't talked for a while, huh?
Nah, not really. I mean, we grew, we knew each other when I was like 14, 15, and we had bands together back in England. But after I came to the States in '69, really didn't have a lot of communication with Jim except for, let me think, probably about 5 years ago, we tried to do something together, and we actually did a tour, went out and did some shows. We were working on an album together, but it didn't work out, and Jim sort of split and went back to England. And then the next time I really spoke to him and saw him was, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when Traffic got inducted.
That was in 2004.
Right.
Well, that was sad to hear about poor Jim.
Yeah.
Well, Dave's always on tour. He's playing the Soho Restaurant and Music Club on State Street in Santa Barbara on Sunday the 10th. And is this a full-fledged tour for Dave or what?
Well, I've been out on and off since the beginning of the year, and I'll be out pretty much now till the end of August. Then a few shows in September, and then it'll be time to sort of focus on the guitar company and help with all that stuff, preparing for the NAMM show in January.
All right. Well, big congratulations, certainly in order for Dave Mason, whose guitar company, RKS Guitar, is on the newsstands. Isn't that right, Dave? Tell everybody.
It is on the newsstand, actually, the cover of Business Week magazine. This is the July 4th issue.
And what did Business Week recognize you for?
The annual Design of the Year Awards, of which I think there were about 900 or 1,000 submissions, from all over the world. And I think they got whittled down to about 140, and out of that, they picked the guitar for the cover. So it was kind of out of the blue.
Will we see you playing an RKS guitar at the Soho Restaurant and Music Club, Dave?
Oh yeah, I've been using them on stage for the last year or so. We were my one partner has an industrial design company out in Thousand Oaks called RKS Designs. And we just put and the guitar factory. We just actually the last month we just moved into a building in Oxnard as the guitar company. So we're just gearing up here, manufacturing.
Now, they are great-looking instruments. You can check them out.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Yeah, RKSguitars.com.
There's their website. There's a website you can check it out at. And like I said, we're just sort of pretty much in the throes of establishing the company, trying to build some dealers out there, but they can be ordered directly from RKS, and I'm sure that information is somewhere on that website.
RKSguitars.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that.
I was just reading something here. We just passed the 35th anniversary of Dave. Let me see if you remember this. Dave Mason playing the first gig ever at the Lyceum Theater, I think it was, back in 1970. Of I guess you'd call him a super group. It was Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker and Steve Winwood. Do you remember the show? You played second guitar, is that right?
Well, actually, no. That was, you know what? That was. I was part of Derek and the Dominoes when they first started.
Oh, it was Derek. It wasn't Blind Faith. It was Derek and the Domino. No, it was Derek.
It was. I was going to be with Derek and the Dominoes, and then it just sort of. Eric had sort of just started his own set of problems at the time, so
Yeah.
I kind of just let it go and came back to the States.
That's right. It was.
That's what that was.
Yeah, it wasn't Blind Faith. It was
Most
Derek.
of that was out of the fact that when I first came here, and I knew all the people in Delaney and Bonnie and friends, and sort of they got hooked up with Eric, and and sort of became, you know, pretty much his band with Derek and the Dominoes.
Okay, that's right.
But I've been playing with them for about a year or more, and they had a number 2 record with Only You Know and I Know.
What was the? Hey, I meant that's one song we're always playing from Dave Mason. Only You Know and I Know.
Mm-hmm.
What was any stories about the inspiration for that tune, Dave? Anything really stand out about that?
Nothing really, other than I wrote it up. I mean, that's nothing, supremely out of the ordinary about it. It was just, just writing some songs and working on some stuff. And other than I wrote it up at Cass Elliott's house.
Really?
Yeah. Since I knew the only person I really knew when I first came to the States was Graham Parsons. He used to have a band called the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Yes.
And he was really the only person I knew, and then he had introduced me to Cass, and Cass actually had a couple living at the house that I'd known from England. So, it just became a group of people who were friends and stuff.
All right, so Dave's touring around, and he's going to be in Santa Barbara on the 10th of July.
The 10th.
At Soho Restaurant and Music Club. And
Yeah.
probably the only place we can see Dave coming up, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. It's that or actually, I think we're in Glendale. I think that's on the 16th. Is the only other close place.
How long have you been out on the road, Dave? On this latest stint?
40 years.
No, yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. Has been 40 years, huh?
Might be a little longer, actually.
Oh man, how do you stand it when you're out there on the road? You're traveling. You're in the Midwest or whatever. Don't you miss good old Ojai?
I love Happy Valley, but I'm right now. I've had a few days off. I'm at a friend's got this beautiful estate here on a lake up here in Brainerd, Minnesota. So I've been kind of chilling out for a little bit here, and then tomorrow I play a festival in Minneapolis, and then we do a Milwaukee festival, and then I'll be in Chicago for 4 days, and then we play Chicago. And come back home I'm back on the 7th, and then the 8th is down at the Coach House in Capistrano, and then I think the 9th is in Laughlin, the date before Soho.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever asked you what prompted Dave to move to Ojai in the first place.
Well,
I mean, I got to know. Is it the mountains? What is it?
No. I've been living in. I had been living down in. I was living on Balboa Island in Newport Beach for a couple of years, and just wanted to get out of there. And actually I almost moved out to New Mexico, but a friend said, "Well, let's go take a look up there and see what's around." Because I was looking for somewhere isolated, and I actually had a house overlooking Lake Casitas for about 7 years, which is where I cut a lot of new stuff, which we're still trying to put something together to get this album out. But I have a bunch of new stuff that I've done that's really good.
We've been talking about that album for a while, huh?
It's been done for a year and a half, longer actually. And there's a couple more songs actually I've done since. But it's finding the right way. It's finding a way to get it out there so that people actually know it's out there.
You know, the record business is so screwy nowadays that
Yeah, well, you know, yeah.
that's it. That's,
Yep.
God. I talk to so many artists who are like, well, you know, I have all this new material, but I'm just holding on to it because I don't know what to do with it.
Right. That's the deal.
It's crazy. That's just nuts. Well, God, what do we need to talk? What do you want to talk about, Dave? I'm gonna let you go, but what? It's like every time I ask for stories and stuff, and you tell me stories, I'm like, okay, now what? Now what do I ask Dave? He's done everything.
Well, I don't know if I've done everything, but pretty close.
Wouldn't it be great to
I've
have?
jumped out of an airplane.
You did?
No, I haven't
don't.
done that, and I don't think I will be.
I was going to say, though, you know, pardon me for asking, but all these guys that you've performed with and recorded with, Jimi Hendrix, all these guys, the George Harrison, Jim Capaldi, all these guys that have passed on to rock and roll heaven, wouldn't it be great just to have them up to Dave's place in Ojai for one big jam session if you could?
It'd be very cool.
Wouldn't that be
Very
great?
nice.
God, that would be incredible. What song would you play?
Oh gosh, who knows? Probably, I don't know.
I mean, you got George Harrison.
Probably throw "Feeling All Right" in there somewhere, since it's
Yeah.
only 2 chords and you can't really screw that up.
Well, I want to be invited to that party when you have George Harrison on acoustic guitar and Jimmy and you wailing away on your RKS guitars. Fine. All right.
But it's a nice thought.
It is a nice thought.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
All right. Well, Mr. Rock and Roll Legend, Chris was saying that sometime we have to mosey on up to your palatial estate. Hey, you don't live on, I know you live on Carn Road, but you don't live in the old Carn house, do you?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Because there's a guy by the name of John Carn back in the late 1800s who built this 7 or 9 room mansion out of stone.
Oh, really?
On Carn Road there. And in fact, it was one of the first homes in the Ojai Valley to have a telephone.
Really?
And it was back in like it was 1898 or something like that.
I've been one of the only people up there.
Yeah, exactly. But he eventually turned it into a hotel, and I don't know I don't know if the house is still there or what. But
I honestly don't know.
I was reading about that. I was reading about that and saying, I bet you Dave lives in that house.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, Dave,
Modest little place.
we're gonna promote the show at the Soho
Thank you.
on Sunday, July the 10th, and thank you again for taking the time out to tell us
Thank you.
tell us a few stories. And, you know, I saved some of the stuff that is usable, again, that's generic, like you talking about the songs and stuff. I do hold on to that stuff, and I play it whenever I can. So.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent.
Good, Dave. Well, best of luck, and congrats again on the Business Week thing, man. I'll have to look for a copy of that.
Yeah, do.
Yeah.
Do.
Okay, man.
All right, well, thank you again.
Dave, good luck, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye.